welcome to another video. We're doing a diversity in film discussion today. So super excited about that. We are going to be discussing the Netflix movie You People. So if you are here joining us live, comment in the chat box and let us know. But yeah, I will pass it over to my lovely co-host from the Diversity is Lit Book Club to sort of introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here as always for our Diversity in Films discussion. I'm Holly. You can find me as Right Holly Davis. Oh, sorry, my dog's shaking. I don't know if you could hear her collar. Fur mom, apparently. Love all things diverse, whether it's movies, books, and writing as well. So happy to be here.
Hello, everyone. I'm Teresa Beasley. I'm also happy to be here. This is the first movie discussion I've been able to attend, so I'm really excited about that.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, this is my first one, so I'm really, really excited to be here, and I can't wait to discuss the movie.
Awesome. And if you are new to my channel, hi, I'm Vanessa. I am a YA fantasy paranormal and horror writer. And I do a lot of writing diversely videos. So this is one of them. So yeah, we can jump right into it. So just getting started. And if those of you who are watching the live stream, if you've watched the movie as well, let us know in the comments and what your overall thoughts on it are as well. But I'll start it off with that. What were your overall thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, so that movie, I'm glad that you had suggested the movie because it wasn't on my radar. I actually did see it pop up on Netflix when I was like browsing other things, but I didn't really know what it was about, and so I just like moved along. And then as I was watching, I quickly realized why you suggested it as a discussion movie, because there were a lot of, important topics that we, we're going to be discussing about. But I at first loved it because it showed, this interracial couple. And I'm like, that's cool. That's what I am, so, or I'm biracial. So it was just really cool to see that. And for most of the movie, I saw all of these kind of problematic things happening, but it was more so because of the flawed characters. And then it wasn't until kind of reflecting on it and reading reviews and stuff afterwards that I learned about the problematic things about the movie. But from what I had watched, I did really enjoy it because it sparked such a good discussion about these topics and kind of brought these to the limelight. So I did enjoy it because I think there were good conversations to come of it, but there were some problematic things. So but I'm really glad that I watched it.
I watched it like a week before Vanessa said, "Hey, there's this movie, You People. We should do it for our movie discussion." So I watched it the week prior, but I didn't. I watched it as like an enjoyment movie because I thought it was going to be like this comedy, but it was much more than just being a comedy. After I looked at it, so then I watched it again earlier today and kind of dissected it as I went. And I was like, okay, yes, I see why she did pick this for discussion because there is a lot of things in this movie. And some things, which I know we'll discuss a little bit later, I know it's just from growing up and my grandmother being a maid to a Jewish family. So it brought up a lot of stuff as I was actually watching it, detail watching it, and analyzing it. Because me and my husband also had a discussion about it as well after we looked at it the first time. But we were talking about the symmetry, the cinematographer stuff, not like all the deep stuff that was going on with the culture and how they interacted and the characters and their flaws. So I'm glad we are having this discussion so we can get more into that. But overall, I did like the movie. But I will only say that because I'm a big fan of Eddie Murphy and Nia Long and Laura London. But as far as the content of the movie, I did have issues with it. So,
Yeah.
but I'm sure we're going to discuss all that.
Yeah.
So for me, I had heard about the movie from a friend of mine. She had watched it on Netflix and suggested it, and I checked it out. And kind of the same thing going in. I thought it was going to be this rom-com with this
Mhm.
couple together, and there was a lot more to it, and there are there were some things that I like, but again, some really problematic stuff in it as well. I did really want to see it because of Nia Long. I love Nia, and I really wish they had used her more in the movie,
Yeah.
but unfortunately they didn't. But yeah, I so kind of going in, I know a lot of people went in the movie wanting to see Eddie Murphy in another movie. I was really wanting to see Nia, so I wish they had used her more. But overall, like I said, there were some things I liked. There were some funny moments. And they had some lines that I wrote down that I'm like, this was actually funny. Um, so yeah, but in terms of the content and the themes that it dives into, I actually think because I also after that I rewatched Guess Who, which was I think came out in early 2000s, I think, or early mid 2000s maybe. But rewatched Guess Who, which is a uh, similar concept to You People, where it's like this interracial couple, and the guy is meeting her family for the first time. We don't meet his family; we just meet hers, but similar concept. And I do think that one, even rewatching it and knowing that it um, it happened, it was done like early 2000s. I still think
Mhm.
that one holds up better in terms of the topics that they go into with that one. So,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. Have you guys seen Guess Who?
I haven't, so now I want to
It's been
watch
a
it.
yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen it, so I would have to watch it again because it's been like a long time.
Yeah. It was a long time since I watched it too, and I rewatched it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this little is really good and holds up." And there were a lot of funny moments in that one as well. So going into it, where I guess, well, let's just say what came up for you guys that you want to dive in first, dive into.
Where do we start?
I know.
That is,
Oh,
Oh,
there's a
I-
lot.
Yeah, I guess for me it was like me like that's why I brought up the dinner scene, because I didn't know that there was like I don't have a lot of like Jewish friends or anyone I know who's Jewish. So they're all like acquaintances. So like that's you know, something that I'm not really familiar with. Like, so all of the kind of learning all of like the stereotypes that they had about the religious Jews, like that, um like I didn't really notice until the dinner scene, and I was like, whoa, like this anti-Semitism, just like
Mm-hmm.
where did that come from? And then realizing that there were things throughout the movie that had it. But I think that's what stood out to me, because obviously it was a very tense situation. Like they're already having problems meeting like Ezra's family, they're having problems meeting Amira's family, and now they're all together. Like stuff is going to go down.
Actually, I have that scene. Hold on, let me see if it'll let me do this, because I couldn't find the clips like on YouTube or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but I did like timestamp it in the actual movie.
Oh, nice.
So I want to see if it'll let me screen share if I can do that.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
so let's see if it works. Hopefully. No.
No, it doesn't look like it's gonna come in.
Oh, come
man.
on, man.
Come on.
It's a bummer. I was trying this out last time, and I was like, it worked for a moment.
Oh.
The picture went black, and you couldn't see it, and I was like, darn.
Yeah.
Well, I will. Let's see. Okay.
Okay. And I wish that would have came in.
I was hoping it would. But yeah, so the dinner scene, we can talk about that. So
yeah. I feel like it was just coming out there and comparing like slavery and the Holocaust, and like kind of like you know, Akbar kind of like downplaying like the Holocaust, and then like Shelley apologizing for all white people and Jews. And I was just kind of thrown off by that, because I was like, whoa, like I didn't know that there was those thoughts happening in the culture. So it was like shocking for me, and I was like, whoa, we're going there, okay. But it's like I think there was a way they could have kind of addressed both of those things without like, you know, downplaying one or the other, or feeling like they had to compete with each other, because that's just impossible. It just made it seem like they were comparing their suffering, and I didn't like that part. So I mean, definitely there was drama from that, but it wasn't like there was any sort of like repercussions in the moment for that, like someone, you know, I don't know, kind of stating that outright. It was all kind of like keeping it in before eventually it does bottle over. But yeah, so I was shocked.
Well, I think her parents came into the whole dinner already with negative energy. They were never inviting to me in the whole movie. Even at the dinner when they first originally met Ezra, they just didn't seem like they were inviting. And then when they got to the dinner part and they were comparing and everything, it's just, and then poor Ezra and Amir just didn't know how to handle the whole situation with their parents going back at each other.
Mhm.
But I think that they should have listened to both parts. But her parents were just more standoffish and had like miserable looks on their face the whole time. It was like they were already gunning for an attack on his parents,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, not
which his
giving them
parents,
that
yeah,
chance.
they didn't even give him a chance. And yes, his mom was so kooky, but she was such a kooky. And his dad, oh my god. But I don't think they were trying to be as rude and condescending as her parents were
Mhm.
to me in the whole dinner scene.
Yeah, that is something that I think, I totally agree with, like, her, and even, like, I made note of the scene after that dinner where she's talking to Ezra, and they start getting into a fight because
Hmm.
he makes a comment about her dad being intense, and she is like, are you calling my dad angry, the angry black man? I'm like, okay, he didn't say it, but I will. Yes, your dad was an angry black man.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
your whole damn family were angry black, the angry black stereotype.
yes.
So that was the thing that I was just like frustrated with, because I'm like, they've got a reason to think you guys are like that, even though he didn't say it.
Yeah.
Because I think, they came off like that, and like you said, her parents never really gave Ezra a chance, and never gave.
No,
That like
nope.
first time that we met Akbar, like when he met with Amira and she was saying like I'm dating, this white guy, and he was like so upset and
Well, she didn't tell him the first time they met. Or,
Like
maybe
when,
not the very first
yeah,
scene.
like when he met the brother and
Right.
Amira for the drinks. She
yeah,
didn't tell him that he was white.
told
She
him he was.
lied and said it was a Muslim.
Yeah,
Oh,
She
yes.
just said that.
Yes.
Yeah, she's like, oh yes, he's
Right.
Muslim, but he's different.
Cuz yeah, like that like made me think about, and I see that in a lot of um book reviewers for um like interracial like main characters. Like I'm specifically thinking about like Legendborn, how there's so many people that like
Hmm.
don't like that book because Bree's with the white guy, and like she betrayed her and so I was like, it doesn't mean that it's like, so it just like blew my mind. It's like it's not just like one like road for everyone. So but with Akbar, he was like, there's one road and this is
Hmm.
it. And like then controlling her to say that this is the path that she had to take, and then not being respectful and accepting her for the choices that she was making. So
yeah, and when and the Akbar, uh, he just like from the beginning he was over the top,
yeah.
and not and his with his character, it wasn't even just having issues with white people. It was he was a colorist as well.
Hmm.
If we're going back to, I marked that scene when he meets Amir and her brother for drinks, and he's looking around and he's like, "Why am I the darkest dude in here?"
Hmm.
It just, and I'm just like thinking about all his comments he makes, like about everyone getting lighter and lighter, and then
Hmm.
the scene later on with him and Fatima and Nia's character, where they are just like, he is saying, um, sort of blaming her grandfather's, like he's like, this is your grandfather's side coming out, because her grandfather was white, and so
Mm-hmm.
kind of playing into that. And yeah, I was just like looking at all of that, and I'm like, dude, how your kids are pretty light. They're definitely lighter than you. How is it? How do you think they feel hearing all these comments from their dad about
Right.
like that?
Right.
You know, um, I think that must affect them a lot, and that's one thing that we don't really see in the movie, which would have been interesting. But there was a lot of other stuff going on as well, so I get they couldn't dive into all of that, but that would have been something interesting to talk about. 'Cause I'm like, how do your kids feel hearing all these comments?
Right.
And
Right. Right.
um, and then going back to the dinner scene that you brought up in the beginning, um, just there was just so many microaggressions from Akbar and Fatima from that scene, just from like the moment they met and like him telling the story of how he got his crown, and it was from a minister named Farrakhan,
Farrakhan. Mm-hmm.
which I don't know who he was, who Farrakhan was. And so I actually looked it up after the movie
Same.
and found out, you know, he's like the leader of the Nation of Islam, and like he's had so many anti-Semitic comments that he's made towards people, towards Jewish people, and just seeing that, I'm like, that I put into better context what we saw during that scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I understood the microaggression there. And then I also, after learning about that and then rewatching the scene again, and the part where Ezra is like agreeing and he's like, yeah, Farrakhan, he's one of the goats, you know. And I'm like, I don't, you're doing way too much. And
Too
even
much.
when the mom looks at him, like, yeah, what do you like about Farrakhan?
Well,
His vibe, everything. I'm like, yeah, you don't know who this guy is. You're just trying to press Amir's dad.
Yes. Yes.
yeah, that part was hilarious. And then
Yeah.
learning like he was kind of like, you know, putting this guy on a pedestal. Then it was like, because that was another thing they like the articles that, you know, you shared with us, like brought up, like, is Jonah Hill like ignorant to these things for kind of allowing all of this in the movie, or is he just kind of like accepting of it, kind of like a self-loathing type thing, which was just really interesting. So I don't know if he's commented on it at all, but I feel like it would be interesting to kind of get his perspective on like what's been talked about, including kind of like that, like, well, or is that kind of like that where people are just more ignorant of it and then they're really like actually attacking their own kind.
Mm.
You know, well, Israel's character kind of acted like he knew a lot more than what he did. He did
From
that
both
throughout.
sides, the music,
The music and everything. So, but it was funny when his mom looked at him and was like, "Yeah, I want to know what you love about Farrakhan."
But the music, I think he did know the song.
He did. Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
he just didn't want to
He just-
say.
He couldn't say the name because
Right.
Yeah, he did.
what did you just say?
Yeah. Well, Akbar was setting him up though when they were in the car and when they went to the barber shop. Why would you take that boy into a barber shop with a red sweatshirt on and
I
you know?
know. I was
I was like, no.
no, that
I was
there,
like, why would you do that to him? And you know that this blue is in the barber hat on blue. It's
Mm-mm,
like, why would you do that to him? And I
mm-mm.
did like the fact that he took him to the basketball court to try to show him up, and he started recording. But then
yeah,
Ezra turned it around on him.
Yes, I loved that. That
Yeah,
was great.
that
He's like,
part I did love.
you can keep recording. You can
You can
keep
keep
going.
recording now. He was like, no, I'll get the next one. Because he was mad because he was trying to set him up and it didn't work.
yeah,
So,
Mhm.
I mean,
yeah,
he was giving poor Ezra such a hard time.
yeah.
And it's like,
I love that part too when he turns it around on the court. Um, but yeah, all of that we mentioned, like, you know, trying to set him up to say the name of the song, bring him
hmm
to a Crip barbershop wearing red, like all of that. I'm just like, no.
he was doing way too much. Way too much.
And yeah, just all of that. And then um, one other thing I wanted to mention, kind of again back to the dinner scene, uh, the comparison, like you were saying, Holly, with the comparison between the Holocaust and slavery, and that discussion that came up, um,
Mhm.
which I also agree. I wish they would have, you know, sometime come back around to to the start of that discussion and like kind of it would have been a good chance to have each family kind of see the other side
hmm
point of view,
Yeah,
um,
point of view.
especially because like what Ezra's mom Shelley, what she was saying during the dinner, what before when Akbar asked like, "Are you comparing the Holocaust to slavery?" And she's like, "No, no, I wouldn't do that." And then she was like, "Oh, although we do have similar struggles," but
hmm
what she had said, going back to it, was um, her or Akbar had made the comment when Amira said they should go out on the boat and hang out sometime all together. And Akbar said, well, Black people in boats don't have a good history with boats, and are
hmm
for water. And then that's when Shelley was like, that's kind of like Jewish people with trains. And I'm like, that's a fair comparison to make. Like,
It was actually.
Yeah.
so I'm like, you guys are
But
talking about, the fear of boats and water because of what happened during the slave trade. She brought up, trains because of what happened during the Holocaust. That's a fair
hmm
comparison.
mhm.
And, it just devolved into this who had it worse, which uh, traumatic event was worse, or, all of that. And then when I think it was Fatima, the mom,
hmm
was like, who said that uh, Jewish people came here to the country with the money they made off the slave trade. And Arnold, Ezra's dad, was like, "Where are your sources?" And I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, "Sources that?" And
She said she had her receipts.
right when she said
Oh yeah,
receipts
gosh.
the purse, I was like, "Bring them out! I want to see them."
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking the same thing, Vanessa. I was like, I really want to see these receipts since she's saying she got all this proof. I was like, let her go get her purse. Let's see the receipts.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I was just like I said, I think that could have been a scene where if they had come back to it, and kind of after, you know, if the parents sort of shifted their point of view and came back to it, they could have maybe seen each other's side and be like, we both have both our ancestors have a history of traumatic events happening, and it doesn't have to be, this.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. I also was going to say, I don't know what you guys thought of the pacing of the movie, but I feel like the pacing there, I don't know. I was thinking because the beginning, we see them meet, and then there's like this montage of them dating, and then
Mm-hmm.
this past, and now they're meeting the family, and that's when all this stuff happens before they get married and stuff. But I was like, I think what would have been better is if either we started the movie with them already dating for a while and then
Mm-hmm.
going to meet the parents, the families. So kind of similar to Guess Who, where they were already dating and then they went and met her family. So something like that, and then have all the conflict and stuff come up from that, and see kind of how they navigated through that. Or my other thing was just to show them like falling in love throughout the whole movie. Like we see them meet in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
instead of having that montage and have 6 months pass, we see them falling in love slowly throughout the whole movie, but their families keep butting in, keep trying to do stuff in the
Yeah, I would have wanted that too, because I felt like I couldn't connect. Like it was just seeing their relationship with all of the drama and not seeing them connect with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah,
agree.
because I think it said it was like after the montage, it was like 6 months later,
yeah.
which I thought 6 months later and you're already proposing to her. I mean, I could see if it was like a year and we saw them dating and that year had went past and then like you said, Vanessa, with them already dating and it's been maybe like a year and then all this stuff happens.
I'm
But I thought that was
I'm watching Married at First Sight right now, so people do crazy stuff.
they do.
Yeah.
They
I'm watching
do.
season 12, so I'm just like, people will do crazy fast things.
They will.
And I'm not saying, that they couldn't have met and
No,
fell in love that
no.
quick, because it does happen. I mean, rarely, but it does. It does happen. But I'm with you. I think we should have saw them connect a lot better
Mhm.
in the movie than just. But I think the main purpose was the conflicts
But
that was going
yeah,
to happen. I think that was the main thing that the director was focusing on.
Mhm.
So I don't think the pacing was like top of their, like thought process.
Yeah, which is I get that, but I also think that's why I think it would have been better seeing them
Mm-hmm.
fall in love throughout the whole movie, and
Yeah.
their families try to control things and get in, kind of get in the way.
Yeah.
yeah. I
Because
think that.
Akbar, you could tell, was controlling.
Oh yeah, oh
He's
yeah.
very controlling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because then they I felt like they rushed the ending too, where it was like, whoa, like what happened? And then I was like, how much time has passed since they like broke up? And then all of a sudden their one big happy family, and I was like, I felt like that was really rushed, where they should have taken their time and then maybe been able to address and resolve some of the issues that they brought up, as opposed like we were told that like Shelley and Akbar were like, you know, kind of admitted their faults and wanted things to work between them, but we weren't really shown it, like, so it just kind of felt like out of nowhere, and I didn't feel as much of that punch as I feel like we should have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they, you know, meet up after, I don't even know if they mention how much time passed, but, and
Is
then,
it like 2 months? I don't even know.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think it was like a couple of months, but
yeah, they just meet up on the streets. The parents apologize to the other, well, not to the parents, but to each kid. And then it just, there's a wedding right then. Okay.
And I'm sorry, that's the worst dress wedding ever.
I was like,
You talk about an impromptu wedding. That was very impromptu.
Yeah. So I know we were ripping on Akbar. On the flip side, Shelley had a lot of other problematic things as the problematic parent on Ezra's side, as far as a lot of her assumptions and actions, like right away when she met Amira, like, how do you say it? Amira? Wait, what is it again? It's like, it's not hard. It's Amira.
No, it's not.
Like, it's not this crazy thing. Like, you're fine, and then you brought up the maid thing. I didn't even realize about like the maid, but
yeah.
I mean, like, I like noticed that, and I was like, oh, that just seems really, I don't know, like, I didn't know what to make of it, but then hearing that, like,
I think she was just, she had good intentions, unlike Akbar, but she just was trying too hard and didn't know how to handle the situation. Mentioning the maid and stuff. Like, she's like family and da da da. I think that was her in her head thinking, I don't want it to seem like we think of people of color as servants and maids and stuff. So I'm trying to make it seem like there's more to the relationship than just her being a housekeeper. I think that's probably what she was trying to do, but it didn't come out. And then again, when she was like bringing up the topics, like, I'm throwing it out to the group. What do you think about police?
Yeah.
Oh my. She's like, no, I talk about that all the time with my friends. Like, every week we talk about it. And
or when the dad was serenading Amira.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We're just ordinary people.
Yeah.
I was like, and Amira was like, don't worry about it. But you can tell the look on her face was like, this is very uncomfortable.
She was very nice,
yeah,
keeping
she was.
things inside. They both had to keep things inside until they had to.
And his sister was adorable too. She was like, hi. I mean, hi. And she was like, oh, my daughter's gay. She's lesbian. I'm like, you didn't have to say that.
We are LGBT. Yeah. Oh, God.
He said L. He's counting it on his finger. I'm like, oh my God. And he's obsessed with Exhibit and his show. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, his parents were a little bit laid back and a little bit funnier than Akbar. I mean,
well, his parents, I think, are, like I said, they had good intentions.
Yeah.
didn't know how to best navigate the situation. Which one other thing I wanted to bring up as well was just like the so pretty much when we see how Akbar is with Ezra and his family, and we see how Shelley is with Amira and her family, obviously way different. Ezra's microaggressions were intentional, and there was so much more of his than hers. And
Mm-hmm.
and that the scene where they both come back from their bachelor and bachelorette party, and
Mm-hmm.
Ezra's asking her, "Just tell me, what did my mom do this time?" And she's like, "She pulled the same tone deaf shit she always does." And I'm like, but she really didn't. Not during that trip, at least. Because one, we didn't even see much of what happened with the girls trip. We get
Right.
two scenes
Mm-hmm.
really. And the intro scene, we have Shelley and Liz come and are meeting everyone at the bachelorette party for the first time. And Shelley just says hi. And then I forget who it was, but someone was like, "Who's this white lady here?"
Yeah.
I'm like, if anything, the microaggression was from their side, not hers.
Then her side, yeah.
So there was that scene where, they introduced themselves. She was talking about how she loved the outfits and the earrings. She was complimenting them.
Mm-hmm.
And, the tattoo and stuff. And then after that, the only other scene we get from that trip was during the Hangman
Mm-hmm.
game, and they were trying to guess, and Shelley was like, "Is it an N-word?" And everyone you see like thinking that she's talking about that N-word, but it's not. She's like, "No, I mean Navajos," It's like, I'm like, well, that's an assumption on their part. She
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
didn't
And
say
then
anything or do anything wrong.
yeah, and then catching the weave, it's like
Yeah.
that was an accident. She didn't do
Yeah,
it
that
on
wasn't her fault.
purpose. And they
Right.
all got really
So
upset.
mad. Yeah.
Mhm.
She didn't know that the ring was going to catch onto the wig. I mean, that could have happened to anybody.
Exactly.
So I think they blew that away out of proportion.
That's
I mean, because she wasn't trying to do that.
yeah. That's why when when Amira comes home and tells Ezra, she pulled the same tone deaf shit. I'm like, what did she pull? Because out of those two things, there was nothing that she did wrong.
Right.
Okay, the hair thing was an accident. She didn't say, she wasn't thinking the word that you guys thought she was thinking.
Right.
What exactly did she do that was so offensive? I didn't see anything with those with
Yeah.
that trip.
Yeah.
And I actually went back again this morning and was like just looking at the scenes that have Shelley and Amira in it together.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end, I know Teresa, you wanted to bring this up, the
Mm-hmm.
confrontation between Shelley and Amira,
Amir. Mm-hmm.
Ezra and Akbar. But with Shelley and Amir, when she confronts Shelley and kind of tells her off for treating her as the token black daughter-in-law, and not really seeing her as an individual and stuff. And I was like, I was looking at all their scenes together, their interactions together, and I'm like, there's really only 2 scenes in the whole movie that Shelley really messed up with. The beginning when she's meeting her for the first time and saying all that stuff. That was the first one. And then the spa when they were going
Yeah.
the spa day, and she thought that employee was being racist and was gonna call her out until she realized that's not what was happening. But it
She was actually she was an employee.
But I was like, those were the only 2 times you could really say she did something offensive. And in both of those instances, again, she meant well. She didn't mean to be offensive, unlike her dad, who did mean
to be offensive. Yeah.
Exactly.
That was the other thing that got on my nerves, was because, like, at least Ezra, when his mom would say something, he would try to get her to, like,
Stop.
to stop, and he'd be like, okay, let me help you with something in the kitchen. Like, he checked his mom when she was doing stuff like that. Amira never once, not once, checked her dad.
Nope.
He was so much worse.
Yep. Yeah. I didn't even realize that she just she didn't call him out.
No, she didn't. And he was a lot worse on Ezra than his mom was to her. I think Akbar took it way too far. And that's why I wanted to bring up those scenes, because them telling each parent off was totally different. Ezra had all the right to say the things that he said to Akbar, because everything he said was true. From the time he met him, he was trying to sabotage him.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what he said, what he did, and all he was trying to do was show that he loved his daughter. But Akbar was he was hell-bent on ruining the relationship and trying to get her to see that he's just not the right guy. And to me, you don't know who the right guy is for your daughter. That's something that she needs to decide on her own. And if she loves this man and she feels that this is the right person for her, you should realize that you raised her to the point where she can make sound decisions and choose the proper person for herself. But I mean, when he told him off at the rehearsal dinner, first of all, why do you need that many people at a rehearsal dinner? That's what I want to know.
I was like, is this the wedding? Like, that's how.
I mean, I'm like, why do you need this many people at a rehearsal dinner? It should be your wedding party, your wedding planner, your wedding party, and your parent. That's all you need. The cousins, the uncles, the best friend. None of those people need to be at the rehearsal dinner. So I don't know why they did that, but I'm like, okay, that really doesn't happen. But it was just, I thought that he had every right to tell Akbar. And I was proud of him for actually standing up because the whole time he was with Akbar, he never stood up to him. It was like he was nervous because Akbar's character, he's very intimidating. Yeah. So when he actually stood up to him, I was like, I'm proud of you, Ezra. You finally stood up to him. Tell him off.
Yeah, that's a good thing of saying, like, yeah, he is scary and intimidating.
Yeah, very intimidating. And he never said anything. But then I think Ezra just was at his breaking point and was like, look, you've screwed me over ever since you met me. And all I've been trying to do is show you that I love your daughter. But you didn't even give me a chance to even do that. Mm-hmm. So, but I hate that they let it actually affect them. They let their parents' issues and problems, they took that on themselves and they shouldn't have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And they didn't address those things early enough so that it did spiral out of control.
Out of control.
Make them reach their breaking point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you want to also talk about, Teresa, Shelley and Amir's confrontation?
Now, Shelly and Amir, like you said, I don't think there was a lot that Shelly did to make her feel like she was a token person. Now, I understand her being irritated because every time Shelly was talking about the hair and asking her all these questions about that, I understand her being frustrated with that part. But I just don't think that Shelly did enough to where she should have went off on her like that. I
Mhm.
think she was I think she pushed the emotions that she was going through about her indecisiveness about them being together, and Shelly happened to be the one that she met up with that she took it out on. I don't think she should have, you know,
Yeah.
really went off on her. She could have said, "Okay, Shelly, you don't know about black people's hair. Let's just leave it at that."
Mhm.
But she just took it to a whole nother level,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and I just don't think that it was. I think his part was warranted. I don't think hers was. I don't think she needed to go there with her. She could
Yeah.
just told her, "Stop asking me about my hair," and been done with it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think for Amira, I think she had just I think this might have been a case of like she kept pushing down her feelings with
Hmm.
other two instances that happened with Shelly, and she, wouldn't say anything, wouldn't bring it up, and so that also kind of exploded. But I was gonna say, think that yeah, she should have handled that better, and it wasn't warranted. But at the same time, I also see with that scene, Shelley is trying, like, we see her trying. She was talking about how, like, she, was watching the documentary about, Black women's hair and,
Hmm.
trying to learn and, trying to be more aware of these things. And so, I see the effort she was making, on her part, and that to me, says that, she really does care and she's trying, and, it could have been one of those situations where she, tried to if as I was saying, if she really saw Amir as, like, the token Black daughter-in-law, it could have been one of those situations where she, tried to get Amir to, like, educate her about Black,
Hmm.
but she put in the effort and she went to research it on her own, and she was like,
Hmm. Yeah.
and all this stuff, and, it's incredible, like, I had no idea what you guys go through, and I think, asking that simple question of, so I know for next time what style is that, that
Hmm.
I think is fine, but like I said before, she stuffed her emotions to the point where it all just blew up at that.
Blew up. Hmm.
Yeah, and she like cuz like I feel like Ezra's or when Ezra like told off Akbar and he was kind of taken aback, but then seeing like Shelley's reaction to just like the outburst, what like she started crying and then she's like, "Oh, don't, it's not about you," and there you go cry, and so it was like it it seemed like genuine, and she had those genuine intentions, like you said.
Hmm.
She was trying, and that's why she was so hurt, because she didn't realize that she was going overboard, and she thought that she was doing the right thing.
Mhm.
I mean, it could have been that she was researching that stuff just in case they had kids. She would know how to do her grandbaby's hair. I mean,
Yeah,
Aw,
she could have been thinking of it like that.
right.
yeah,
Aw.
but
Yeah, so
they didn't really go into,
into
oh,
that, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
And
Because you remember when they were in the kitchen, she was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna have like grandbabies." So she was probably thinking, "Okay, if I learn about their hair and stuff, if I get to keep the baby, then I can do my grandbaby's hair."
Yeah.
I was just, playing devil's advocate,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Oh, that's
So
smart.
I mean, so now, what did you guys think about him and his partner, his podcast partner, like Ezra and his
oh,
podcast partner,
I forgot what her name
Yeah, I
was.
forget her name.
Mo?
Oh,
Oh, yeah, duh. Oh my God.
that was interesting. Actually, I did have that question on here about what something that she says to Ezra. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. But she had said, where is it? She had said something about, she was comparing Black people and white people's relationship to couples where one partner cheated. And she's like, where or white people were like the cheaters and they could never get over or move on from what they did. And so my question was, are Black people the girl who got cheated on and can't move on, and are white folks the cheaters we can never trust again? So that whole scene with them.
Whoa!
Whoa! I know.
Whoa.
I
Woo.
missed that part.
That's a good one, Vanessa. I'm trying to think of that part.
Yeah. It was right after when they were doing the podcast and Ezra.
When they broke up?
Yeah.
Was it like right after they broke up?
Yeah.
And Shelly was watching the podcast episode and Ezra was talking?
Ezra admitted that Mo was right, that, it doesn't work for, Black people and white people, that relationship. He didn't want to believe her that it wouldn't work
out.
But he was kind of admitting that she was right. And then, she had that whole spiel about.
Wow.
I think it's like a good analogy. I don't know, like if we, can use like a blanket statement like that.
Right.
But I think that is the case in, any relationship.
It's what you put into it.
So, because like if you're only, gonna define yourself by one thing, then like if you can't move, like then you're always gonna look through with everything with that lens, and that's not gonna serve you best.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably gonna make you miserable.
Yeah.
If you're only thinking that, if you're just focused on that one thing,
right?
I would think it would make you miserable.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to progress any further than that.
Yeah, because then it's like if you think about someone who's been cheated on, well, are they never going to be another relationship again because they've been cheated on? Like they're not.
Well, I think when she said that, she was talking about specifically, like, even if you were to move on with the same partner who cheated, you can't really get over it. You're always going to be wondering and, questioning, looking at their messages, thinking, are these
okay. Now I agree with her on that. I do agree with her on that. Especially if you're in a long relationship and then the person that you're with, especially if you're married and that person cheats on you, then you have the decision on whether you want to accept that person's apology and believe that they're not going to do it again. But even if you do say, yeah, I forgive you for what you did, if it happens again, then we're done. You're still in the back of your mind going to be thinking, okay, my guy's leaving. Is he going to see her again? Or is he going to go see a different person? You are going to be wondering. That's always going to be in the back of your mind, even though you've told them that you forgive them.
Mhm.
It's still for a while. It's going to be in the back of your mind that are they going to do this again? And then if they do it again, how am I going to handle it? Am I going to handle it different, or am I going to forgive them again? So I do kind of agree with her on that part.
Well,
That
and she was comparing that with the Black people's relationship with white people, where it's like, you know, they always do, have these microaggressions towards Black people. So it's like, can we really trust you guys? Can we really ever get to a point where we move on and we're not constantly thinking about like, oh, what are they going to do now that's racist, or what are they going to do now that's a microaggression?
hmm
Hmm.
hmm.
I feel like it's like situational because
Mhm.
like in my case, like if I'm like with my dad's side of the family, I don't think they're thinking some sort of way towards me, and it's like we're family, so it's like those lines get blurred and you don't. Yeah, I don't know. I can't like form words with what I'm
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say, but it's just like yeah, I can't really phrase it right, but
I get it. I will say, I didn't really agree with her statement, what she said there, because, you know, yeah, there's always going to be trust issues with certain people, no matter what background, what identity you fall into. You know, there's always, from every group, every marginalized group, there's always going to be good people and there's going to be bad people,
Mhm.
and everything in between in every single group. So to say blank statement as a whole group that we can't trust another group, I don't think is true. I think it's like Holly, you were getting at, it's very situational, very individual,
Mhm.
right? So there are, and for some people, because of their past experience, they're going to be more cautious of
Mhm.
the other person. They're going to, you know, take their time and go into things slowly and have more caution. But, I think you will find people that, you can trust within every. So that's why I kind of, disagree with their statement, just because I don't think it's like I always say in all my writing diversity videos, no group is a monolith,
Right. Right.
what group we're discussing, no one is a monolith. And so that's why I think statements like that can't really apply it blanketly to a whole group. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm thinking it's like individual, not like a whole group, but it's just like an individual person,
Mhm.
whatever, according to what situation they're in. So I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So we're a little bit over the hour mark.
Yes, we are. Sorry.
No, I'm totally fine with that. I don't know if you guys had anything you had to get to. Um,
No, but we're having a good discussion.
oh, good.
This has been a really good discussion.
It has been.
Is there? I'm trying to see because I feel like there was something else I was going to bring up. Is there anything else you guys wanted to bring up? I'm looking at my notes.
We talked about the spa. I think we got everything.
The apology. That's right.
Okay.
The apologies part was
Yes.
the thing I wanted to bring up and talk about. Because we have the ending where, both parents sort of apologize to the other kid. But kind of like you were saying, Holly, at the beginning, was, her with Shelley was apologizing, on behalf of all white people except for the racist ones, and on behalf of the Jewish ones except for all men. With Akbar, he apologized to Ezra, but he never took accountability for all of the microaggressions he did. And he never, for one, I think he should have apologized to Shelley as well. I think she, she deserved an apology from him as well. His whole family, Ezra's whole family did, because he wasn't just that way with Ezra. He was that way with their entire family. And we never see him take accountability for that or to apologize for how he treated them and his faults and how he messed up.
Yeah, and maybe that's why, like, with that didn't help with the pacing either, because it then it felt, it's like they had time in the movie to have more of this
revelation part.
Yeah, and this heartfelt apology that we could feel and see him owning up to all these things that he got called out on, and it was a little disappointing. So
yeah, and especially
if they came together in the end, it just
right
didn't happen the way I thought it should. Well, the ending kind of, to me, felt like, it's a rom-com, so we're supposed to have a happy ending. So here you go, a happy ending. But it didn't feel genuine or real for the situation and what was going on. So what were you going to say?
I was just thinking that the revelation should have been a little bit earlier than that. And then maybe you see them actually participating in just assisting them in planning their wedding, and then there being a wedding. But they just jump to the apology, and then next thing you know, they open the door and everybody. I'm like, when did those people get there? I didn't see nobody walk in the door. And this whole wedding is going on, and they're walking down the aisle. I just thought that maybe the apologies, if it was done earlier, then they could have went back to actually when they were trying to plan the wedding, and they have the two wedding planners, which, okay, her dad's side was hilarious. And he is, Dion Cole is a funny comedian. But that part, they could have went back to that, let them pick their own wedding planner, and they just assist them, and then get to the wedding part instead of just rushing into the wedding part.
Yeah.
And I'm like you, he didn't acknowledge any of the stuff really that he did. I mean, he apologized, but he didn't own his part in the destruction of their relationship. And he should have apologized to Shelley because, I mean, and he should apologize to the husband too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, to the whole
whole family. Yeah, they should have had another rehearsal dinner so that. Because I'm like, some of those people that were standing up saying stuff, why are you even talking? it has nothing to do with you. Sit down. Like, sit down.
Yeah, I thought that, those people they brought up talking, I think they just wanted more of a comedic moment.
Yeah, because all of them were comedians.
Yeah, I was just like, no.
It didn't work.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. Most of them were all comedians. Kim is a comedian.
That's so funny.
Mike Epps, he's actually from Indianapolis. He's a comedian.
Mhm.
So
Oh, I
yeah,
didn't.
yeah. A
Aw.
lot of them that were standing up talking were comedians
Aw.
and friends of Eddie Murphy's.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah. And had
But you know, I do notice that a lot of times, if the industry thinks that a movie is not going to do very well, they throw a lot of celebrities, well-known celebrities, in it just to get people to actually go see it. Which is what me and my husband was talking about. He was like, they didn't need all these celebrities in this movie.
no.
But it's
But
like,
he
oh,
just-
we know you. We trust
Yeah,
you. We're gonna
yeah.
make it."
So I mean, all you had to do was put Eddie Murphy in it, and it would have been fine. But my husband's not a fan of Jonah Hill, so I was like, just give him a chance in the movie. He might do well.
Yeah, they didn't need so many big names because I'm like, you, especially when you hardly use them. Like I said,
Right.
I went in for Nia. Which reminds me, I forgot I had pictures. But
Aw.
I went in for Nia because I
Yeah.
love her, and we barely get to see her. She's in
Yeah.
like a couple scenes, and that's it.
Just a couple of scenes. Yeah.
And
And I
I'm
mean, look at her face. You could tell she went into this whole lunch with a negative
Yup.
aura.
Yup. She was ready to go.
yeah, but yeah, they and I would agree with what you and your husband discussed about putting all the names to kind of
Mhm.
because they know it's not gonna do well. And I'm just like, well, then why not focus on actually making a good movie instead of just
Throwing random celebrities in.
yeah.
Yeah.
It would be much better if you just spent the time crafting a well written movie.
You would think.
You would think, yeah. And I'm not used to the person that directed the movie. I don't know if I've seen anything else that person has directed. The Kenya Barris.
I think they said he was the one because I looked him up online after, and I think he did. Was it Blackish? I think.
Oh, did he? I forgot to look him up after I got done looking at the movie.
Yeah, I thought they said he was the one who directed Blackish.
Oh yeah, he did do Blackish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Grownish.
Yeah.
See, I never looked at those.
I never watched them either.
Yeah.
But one thing I do want to bring up as well is just, I know we touched on this somewhat with everything that we were saying in the whole conversation. But, hi, RK. We are talking about the movie You People, which is on Netflix. So, yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, so the one thing I was going to also bring up, especially like because I sent you guys the articles about just the Jewish representation in the movie, as well as the Muslim representation, which I will also mention for anyone watching live or watching the replay later on. I did do a Writing Diversely interview. This was back when I first started my series. I did an interview with author Bonnie Goldberg, who is Jewish, and we discussed writing Jewish characters. So if anyone is interested in that, that is linked in the description box as well. See, that one cracked up at the dinner.
You have to watch the replay.
Yeah.
We ripped into that one.
Yeah.
I will say I did laugh when his kufi caught on fire.
Yeah.
Oh, that was wow.
Yes. Another accident.
Yeah, it was an accident.
Yeah, but I did laugh about that. What I was gonna say is, so yeah, the Jewish representation and Muslim representation in here. So one thing I thought was interesting was the Muslim representation is actually not, I guess, not mainstream, not one of the mainstream Muslim groups. Right after you're hyping up how important it was, I'm not really. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I talked to some friends who are Muslim or were Muslim, and you know, they all kind of told me that the Nation of Islam, to most mainstream Muslims, they're not actually Muslims. Nation of Islam.
Oh.
Oh.
And I was having a discussion with some of them, and they were like, yeah, they're kind of like how Christians view Mormons. So,
Oh.
like, not.
Wow.
Okay. Didn't know
That's
that.
a good analogy.
That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting that they didn't really pick a like mainstream group for it, but more of a kind of offshoot of it, and but also kind of understand why, because my friend, the first one I was talking to, he was telling me that because he grew up being part of Nation of Islam, and then he left it, I think, when he was like a teen. He left that. But he grew up in it, and he was like, they are very, very racist. They do not like white people at all.
Wow.
And I was like, well, that makes sense of how
Akbar acted.
yeah, so he was just telling me kind of just about the group and how they view white people, and just like their views on Jewish as well. And it was like they are, like he said as well, they don't consider you know, most Muslims don't consider them actually Muslim. So I was like, that's interesting.
Wow.
No, that is interesting.
Yeah.
And
All right.
I didn't know there was that kind of like separation.
Separation, yeah.
Groups.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not a monolith, so
Yeah.
There are different denominations, I guess. I had heard of like Sunni and Shiite Muslims before. Nation of Islam was one I never heard of until this movie. So I was like, huh. And that's when I asked about it. So yeah, that was interesting. And I was like, you know, kind of wish they would have had a you know, one that wasn't so extreme, like
Mm-hmm.
representation of Muslims that wasn't from like an extreme group.
Mm.
So I wish we could have seen that because I feel like that would have been probably a lot of things in the movie probably would have been handled much differently.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, even like the depiction of the Jewish, when they were when he was in there with his Nikes on, and he didn't have his what do they
The
call it?
yarmulke.
The yarmulke on,
Oh yeah,
and they're talking and cursing, and I'm like, what are y'all doing? I don't
Well, and
think
then
y'all
there was
supposed to be doing that.
there was the whole thing, like the stereotype that with like the there's perverts and they're like trying to have Jonah like drop
Yeah,
or Ezra like drop his drawers and
drawers, and I'm like, really? I mean, after they had like the service or whatever, and all the people's coming up to him asking him all these questions, and he's asking. I mean, they were like saying penis and stuff, and I'm like, whoa! Didn't
yeah,
y'all just get out of service?
yeah, they
What
were
are
the
y'all
ones
doing?
scream, yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, I've never really been around a lot of people that were Muslim. And the only Jewish family I've been around is the Jewish family that my grandmother worked for. And she was also an English teacher in my middle school. So we were basically raised like we were her kids too. So because my grandmother was their maid, but she was also their midwife. So when she had her kids breastfed from my grandmother. So my grandmother basically took care of her kids and my mom and my uncle and my aunt. So
Oh.
that was like the only Jewish family I knew. I mean, I wasn't around a lot of Jewish kids growing up or
Mhm.
Jewish families growing up, except
Yeah.
her and their family when we went around them. Um, so my look on Jewish people are a lot of different than how they depicted them in the movie
Mm-hmm.
because the Jewish family I was around was very loving and caring. They always took care of my grandma. They always, checked up on her. Even when my grandmother got sick, we always got a phone call. Even though, some of the kids that she raised had died, you know, the that mother who was my English teacher, she always checked on us. I
Mm.
mean, she was too sick when my grandmother died, but she sent, flowers and, you know, donation to even help with the funeral. So my view on Jewish people is just totally different than what they depicted in
Mm.
Well,
because
and,
all I've had was a loving Jewish person,
mhm,
in my life. So
yeah. Well, and I think they did play into a lot of. Oh, that's cool. Okay, said I'm Jewish. If you want to know more, Well,
oh cool.
I would love to hear more if you want to share it in the chat. Um, but I do think they played into quite a bit of Jewish stereotypes. Which again, if you watch the interview that I did with Bonnie towards the end, we talk about a lot of the Jewish the stereotypes that are often seen in movies and shows and books. And so
Hmm.
I think they did play into quite a bit of those.
Mm.
Um, and unfortunate since they had a writer that was Jewish, right?
Wow.
The, well, Jonah is Jewish, I believe,
Hmm.
um, and he wrote the movie with Karen Barris, and so I'm like, you have a Jewish writer.
I don't get it. I don't know why.
Uh, and finance too. So um, yeah, but uh, okay, if you would like, since you've seen the movie as well, and you are Jewish, if you want to share like what your thoughts were about the representation or just anything you thought about while watching the movie. Um, But yeah, I think really again, I just wish that they did better with the resolution and just with having the families come around, and be more understanding of each other. I would have liked to see that shown more.
Mhm.
I wasn't surprised because the first I thought it was hilarious because they created an awkward situation after up to it. Yeah. There was some funny moments. I was saying at the beginning, I think when we started, there was some funny lines and funny moments, like in the beginning, like Teresa, when you were mentioning the scene with them in the synagogue and talking and stuff.
Hmm.
Ezra looks to his sister. He's like, "You look like the principal of the Hebrew school version of Hogwarts. You look like a young Hulk Hogan." So yeah, there were quite a bit of lines that I was like, huh, that's funny.
What did she say to him right before he said that about the Hogwarts? She said something about the way he was the way
Yeah.
he was dressed.
Oh yeah, I forget.
She said something about his tie. He looked like some. I can't remember what she
Oh,
said, but she said he
oh
looked
my
like something.
I can't remember. Like having a Jewish mom ask why you like Faircon had me cracking. Yes, we talked there. Like really, when Ezra was like, "Yeah, I love Faircon," we're like, "What?" Um, Introduced Jonah as the white guy who does a show on Black culture.
Culture. Yeah, at the rehearsal, didn't he?
Yeah,
Oh.
I thought it was funny how they actually met when he jumped into her car thinking she was an Uber driver.
And she's like, "Get out! What are you
Get
doing?"
out, get out.
yeah. I thought that was funny too, because especially because of how like I think the one thing this movie does is it shows a lot of um, a lot of misconceptions that people might have.
Hmm.
And so, like, when he jumps into the car and she's all thinking, "Oh, it's because I'm black, you assume I'm your driver or whatever." He's like, "No, you actually look exactly like her."
She was like, damn, we do look alike.
Right? That was really and I wish they would have. I think if they would have kept up with that same level of like,
Mm,
there's
Yeah.
communication, but then we work it out and like kind of understand each other, moving from that point. I think that would have been great if they did more of that throughout the movie. And she got rightfully offended and then forgave. Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
I
true.
totally forgot about that part because I didn't
Yeah.
get to watch it over again, but I like watched clips and read the articles and stuff. So, but I wish they had more of that kind of like playful banter and stuff like throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I said like in early on, the pacing is just not there, and
Yeah.
like the romance we didn't get to see it build up, and so I'm like, you know, yeah, okay, same.
Yes, I'm glad you see it too. We're like, where did
Right.
this come
See,
from?
yeah. So see, she agrees.
To make the ending more justified. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because really, it was like they really didn't show them bond or do anything to change their views.
Mm-mm.
It was mainly just like listening to Jonah on the podcast, and the uncle was like, "You were too hard on him," and like,
Mhm.
and that was another funny scene where the uncle was like, "I would have gotten a car at him. I would have."
Oh
Yeah. But with that scene, basically the uncle was just like, you were too hard on him, and then so Akbar kind of thought about it, and then we see him dial Shelley's number during the car ride. I'm just like,
Mhm.
that was way too easy. That's like,
Yeah.
that wasn't.
I just like Shelly watching the podcast episode and then all of a sudden coming to the realizations that she needs to fix things.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought the bride calling out the mom was a good conclusion for them because they never had any common ground. So promise needed to be flipped. Eddie Murphy and Jonah had
Kind of had hope.
interesting.
I
That's
feel like it was the
interesting.
opposite.
I thought it was the opposite.
Yeah, if you go back and watch the replay, we talked about that scene earlier when they had the confrontation with the parents. Yeah, and that's interesting because we all kind of thought like Amira calling out Shelley was blown out of proportion, and probably, it was.
It was because of their intentions. Like
Yeah.
Shelley had intentions and like good intentions and was trying. It just didn't come about the right way. Whereas like Akbar was trying to,
Yeah, from the
did all
beginning.
these scheming and plotting. Like he had to like seek out these opportunities to try to like get on Ezra. So
Yeah.
Especially at the bachelor party,
yeah.
Mhm.
which they just let people bring bags of cocaine into clubs and party at the table. I mean, seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah, for him to go to the bachelor party and then like, oh, you're doing
Mhm.
drugs.
Yeah, he shouldn't even been there.
That was really uncomfortable.
And then he said, "Oh, did you know that Ezra's friend had titties?" He was like, "Yeah, they're on her chest." He
Yeah.
was like, "Oh."
That was
I'm like, "Really?"
another funny part in the movie
I'm like, "Whoa."
when they're on the plane. But no, the part where Mo was like, she's talking to Ezra, and she tells him he's the type of nigga that will kill you and get a solid 9 hours of sleep. And the guy, like, I've done that.
He said, "I've done that." Yeah, I've done that. I'm like, "Oh my god."
I can talk about that part. Oh my god.
Oh man.
Yeah, but he's like, oh yeah, no, I don't do that stuff. Just they do. He's like, hey, look, it's Ezra's dealer. Hey, you know him. Like he's like,
Yeah. I'm pointing
Yes.
at that too.
I was like, "Oh man."
Oh my god.
His friend kept. I was like, "Oh my god, tell his friend to shut up." Shut up. Cut it out.
Yeah. Also, another funny scene I was thinking about, and I was telling my friend about this one too, I think, where like actually I was talking to you, Holly, and Heather about this as well. The scene in the car with Shelley and Amir, and she said, "Rise up." I was like, that would have been the perfect bonding moment because I would have joined in and stayed with her.
yes, that was so
funny.
epic. It was epic, and she missed the epic moment.
Yeah.
That was so funny to me, and I would have joined in and sang with her. It would have been a cool bonding moment, especially when she changes that one line and she's like,
And she,
"Privileged fee," and I was
yeah.
like, what?
Aw.
She was making the song her own.
Aw.
That was funny. Yeah. So yeah, that was a lot to this movie, and a lot that we covered. But any final thoughts as we wrap up?
I just think I kind of like with our book club discussions, I always love these movie, diversity in films discussions because I
Yeah.
always learn so much. Like I can watch the movie and then it was like, being able to dissect it and everything. It was just I learned a lot. And so yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Aw.
We do have 2 other movie discussions that we've done so far. I would like to continue and do more.
Yes.
But we do have 2 other ones. We did one for Turning Red, and then also for what was the
Black Panther.
Black Panther,
What?
Wakanda Forever. And so we did a discussion for both of those. And Teresa, you said I forgot you weren't there for those. This is
Yes, I wasn't able to be at the first 2, but I was like, I gotta be there for this one.
Yay!
So I rearranged some things
Aw.
so I could do the discussion today.
I'm glad you were here.
Yeah, because I'm a big movie buff. Being married to a filmmaker, I'm all about analyzing different movies because me and my husband do it all the time. So I'm excited that we did these. So and I hope we do a lot more.
Same.
I would like to for sure. We usually also have Alicia and Heather is
Yeah.
my group as well, but they couldn't be here today. So yeah, this
Yeah.
was good.
Great discussion,
It
ladies.
was great. Thank you.
Wow.
Thanks, RK,
Yeah.
for your commentary. I look forward to
Yes,
seeing
please.
what else you have to say after watching the replay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
So thanks everyone for everyone who joined. Thank you, RK, for being here and sharing your comments as well. And I will have another video soon. I'm trying. I should have a writing diversity one soon. We'll see. But thanks everyone for being here, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.